In the 1990s, Liverpool's nightlife scene underwent a dramatic transformation, driven by the explosion of dance music and the rapid expansion of the club industry. Set against a backdrop of economic challenges and social change, the city's club scene became a focal point for both entertainment and organized crime. This led to Liverpool taking its part in the infamous Door Wars. The club scene flourished with venues that became legendary in the UK's nightlife history. Quadrant Park, located in Bootle, emerged as a pioneering club in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Known for its all-night raves and a capacity of 2,400. It was one of the first legal venues to host such events in the UK, attracting partygoers from across the nation. The club featured prominent DJs and live performances, contributing significantly to the acid house and rave movements. Another cornerstone of Liverpool's nightlife was Cream. Established in 1992 at Nation nightclub, Cream quickly gained international acclaim, hosting world-renowned DJs and becoming synonymous with the burgeoning superclub era. Its popularity was so immense that by 1995, 70% of John Moore's university student applications cited Liverpool's nightlife, particularly Cream, as a reason for applying. The 1990s were a period of economic transition for Liverpool. The city was recovering from the decline of its traditional industries, leading to high unemployment rates and social unrest. The nightlife economy provided both a distraction and an opportunity for economic activity. However, it also became a battleground for control over lucrative security contracts, giving rise to the Door Wars. As Liverpool's nightlife thrived, control over club security became a license to print money. Security firms, often staffed by individuals with backgrounds in boxing and bodybuilding, vied for dominance. Premier Security, founded in the mid-1990s, became a significant player, taking over contracts from firms like TCMS. Joey Owens, a former Liverpool criminal linked to right-wing politics, chronicled this era in his book, Race Wars to Door Wars, detailing the violent confrontations that ensued. Incidents of violence and intimidation became commonplace, affecting both patrons and club owners. Notable venues like the Paradox nightclub in Aintree became hotspots for these conflicts. Despite these challenges, Liverpool's nightlife in the 90s played a crucial role in the city's culture. It provided a platform for musical innovation and social interaction, contributing to Liverpool's reputation as a city of significance. During this period, the city was a battleground where control over club security was fiercely contested. Amid this turmoil, Premier Security emerged as a dominant force, reshaping the city's security landscape and igniting violent confrontations known as the Door Wars. Established in the mid-1990s, Premier Security quickly gained prominence by securing contracts with major nightclubs, notably the Paradox in Aintree. This venue, renowned for its popularity during the era, became a stronghold for Premier's operations. The company's rise marked a significant shift in Liverpool's security industry as they began to push out the established firms like Total Control Management Solutions, TCMS. TCMS had previously managed security at venues such as Quadrant Park in Bootle. Central to Premier Security was Joey Owens, a former Liverpool criminal. Owens detailed his experiences in a book, providing insight into the violent struggles that characterized this period. His account sheds light on the aggressive tactics employed by security firms and the intense rivalries that fueled the Door Wars. The competition for control over nightclub security often escalated into violent confrontations. Incidents involving figures like George Bromley, a notorious Liverpool gangster, highlighted the brutality of these clashes. Owens recounted events where doormen engaged in brutal fights with gangsters. A notable incident at Quadrant Park involved a criminal being forced to crash through a car park barrier, nearly resulting in decapitation. Call-outs were a common tactic during this era, where security bosses would assemble large groups to resolve disputes at clubs and pubs. These displays of strength often led to serious violence, further entrenching the culture of intimidation within the industry. The security industry during the 1990s was closely linked with organized crime. Many doormen were recruited from gyms and boxing clubs, valued for their imposing size and their fearless approach to violence. Individuals with criminal backgrounds found opportunities within security firms, blurring the lines between legitimate business and organized crime. Figures like Stephen Clark from Netherley were associated with the Premier security brand. The Paradox nightclub, under Premier's control, became emblematic of this turbulent period, with its massive door teams symbolizing the firm's dominance. The violent struggles of the 1990s eventually led to increased scrutiny and efforts to professionalize the security industry. Around this time, Liverpool's nightlife was marred by a series of violent incidents. Rival security firms and criminal gangs vied for control over the city's lucrative club scene. These confrontations were often brutal and public. One of the most brutal episodes occurred at Quadrant Park, a popular nightclub in Bootle. A well-known criminal found himself in an argument with the club's security team. The altercation escalated dramatically in the club's car park, where the unnamed individual was forced to flee in his Ford Escort Cosworth. In a desperate attempt to escape, he drove through a car park barrier, which nearly decapitated both him and his front seat passenger. This incident highlighted the extreme measures at play during these times. The era was also marked by violent confrontations between doormen and local gangsters. Joey Owens recounted numerous violent incidents involving figures like George Bromley. These clashes often erupted over control of club security, leading to brutal fights that spilled into the streets. Although maybe not directly linked to the door wars, Bromley was later assassinated in strange circumstances. The 33-year-old enforcer was known as the Tax Man. His reputation for targeting drug dealers and other criminals made him many enemies. On November 18, 1997, Bromley met a violent end. On that fateful evening, Bromley visited the West Derby home of his associate, Charlie Sager, a former safe-blower turned businessman. While seated in the kitchen reading the Daily Post, a masked gunman entered the residence. He shot Bromley 3 times in the head at close range, killing him instantly. Sager claimed he had answered the door to the assailant, and upon realizing the threat, fled and hid in nearby bushes. He returned to the house, discovering Bromley's body on the floor. This account, however, was met with skepticism. The murder of George Bromley Sr. remains one of Liverpool's most notorious unsolved cases. Another regular face on the circuit was Tony Sinnott, a former Liverpool doorman who once worked at the Alicante club in Speke, said that the former boxer was a bit of a force in the area at the time. Sinnott had a reputation as a top fighter and was known to carry a knife. The doorman caught one of his henchmen in the club one night, threatening someone with a blade. He later caught up with Sinnott at a petrol station in Halewood. A fight broke out, and Sinnott was warned against his crew causing further trouble in the clubs. Tony Sinnott died in a machine gun attack in 1999. He was just 40 years old. In 1996, the violence reached a deadly peak with the murder of Stephen Cole, a well-known figure in Liverpool's underworld. Cole was attacked and beaten to death in a pub. This brutal killing underscored the lethal stakes involved in the battle for control over Liverpool's nightlife. Stephen Cole, hailing from Kirkby, had transitioned from football to working as a doorman. He was a well-known figure in Liverpool's club scene. His role at Cream nightclub placed him at the centre of the city's security industry. This scene was rife with rivalries and territorial disputes. Cole's assertive approach earned him a reputation as a formidable figure, but it also led to conflicts with competing security firms and organised crime groups. On May 19, 1996, Cole and his wife were enjoying a quiet evening at the Farmers Arms pub in Fazakerley. Their peace was shattered when a mob of approximately 20 men, armed with machetes, knives and baseball bats, stormed the establishment. The assailants targeted Cole, forcing him into an alcove and launching a savage attack. Despite the presence of numerous patrons, the ferocity of the assault left Cole with fatal injuries, including multiple stab wounds. The investigation into Cole's murder faced significant challenges, primarily due to the wall of silence among witnesses who feared retribution. Despite this, police identified the key suspects, leading to the arrests of John Riley, 46, and Robert McCarthy, 42, both from Kirkby. They were accused of orchestrating and leading the attack on Cole. In December 1997, the trial commenced at Preston Crown Court. The prosecution presented evidence that Riley and McCarthy led the armed mob into the Farmers Arms pub, directly resulting in Cole's death. Both men were found guilty of murder and received life sentences. The sentences came with a recommended minimum term of 20 years. A third individual, Raymond Navarro, 37, from Liverpool, was convicted of grievous bodily harm and sentenced to 10 years. This was just one high-profile case linked to the door wars. Another shocking case involved a spate of car bombings. In the early 2000s, Liverpool's underworld was rocked by a series of car bombings that marked a violent escalation in the city's gang conflicts. Central to this campaign was Richard Caswell, a 23-year-old former nightclub doorman. Initially recruited as a foot soldier in a feud involving Liverpool's clubland bosses, Caswell's role quickly escalated. He assisted in setting up the car bombs. He wasn't the brains behind the plot, but assisted after getting drawn into a feud involving the Lynch family. The family were the owners of Club 051 in the city centre. Sandfield Walk, West Derby, October 18, 2003. The campaign's first major incident occurred in the neighbourhood of West Derby. A massive explosion tore through Sandfield Walk. The blast, the most powerful in Britain for a decade, caused significant damage to nearby homes. Miraculously, no one was injured, but the blast left the community in shock. Dewbrook Police Station. In a bold move, a car bomb was detonated outside the West Derby Road police station in Dewbrook. The explosion sent shards of metal into nearby buildings. Caswell was also said to be linked to car bombs placed outside 2 homes. These attacks not only endangered the lives of the residents, but also instilled widespread fear across the city, as civilians became unintended targets in the Gangland feud. The bombs were crudely constructed, yet devastatingly effective. Vehicles were filled with industrial fireworks and petrol, turning them into lethal weapons. Caswell's role involved driving these cars to predetermined locations, where they would later be ignited, causing massive explosions that propelled metal fragments into the surroundings. The car bombings were part of a broader gang feud involving club owners and criminal factions vying for control. Officers raided Richard Caswell's home and found a large haul of firearms at the house on Newman Street in Sandhills. In April 2005, Caswell was sentenced to 17 years in prison after admitting to conspiring to cause explosions and possessing firearms. The car bombing campaign marked a high-profile case in Liverpool's criminal history. The scale and brazenness of the violence led to a shift in mindset among security bosses. The escalating violence among rival security firms prompted law enforcement to conduct targeted operations to restore order and dismantle the networks. In response to the surge in violence, Merseyside police launched Operation Aladdin. This was a year-long investigation aimed at curbing the disorder in Liverpool's club scene. The operation resulted in a series of coordinated raids, resulting in multiple arrests of the individuals involved. Despite these efforts, prosecuting those involved in the door wars proved challenging. The criminal activities were often shrouded in secrecy, with victims and witnesses reluctant to come forward due to fear of retaliation. This code of silence hindered investigations and allowed many of the firms to continue. Recognizing the need for industry-wide reform, the UK government established the Security Industry Authority, SIA, in 2003 to regulate the private security sector. The SIA introduced mandatory licensing for security personnel, including nightclub doormen, ensuring that only qualified and vetted individuals could operate in the industry. This regulatory framework aimed to professionalize the sector and reduce the influence of criminal elements. In 2006, Dorsec, a Liverpool-based security company, emerged as a leader in promoting a more professional approach to nightclub security. The widespread installation of CCTV cameras across Liverpool played a crucial role in deterring criminal activities and aiding investigations. The comprehensive surveillance network eliminated blind spots that offenders previously exploited, increasing the likelihood of detection and prosecution. The door wars of the 1990s left their mark on Liverpool's nightlife, reshaping the city's club culture and prompting significant reforms in the security industry. The violent power struggles among security firms and criminal gangs not only disrupted the social fabric, but also led to lasting changes in how nightclubs operate. Clubs began implementing stricter entry policies and invested in surveillance technologies. The legacy is one of violence and control, leaving behind a city where running the club doors meant vast, lucrative cash. While regulations and crackdowns reshaped the industry, the brutal tactics and street justice of the era remain a stark reminder of how gangs once turned the club scene into their battleground. For more raw and real crime stories, hit the like button and subscribe. Until the next episode, stay alert and stay safe.